All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. The Pac 12 is scrambling to survive as they need a new television deal. The Pac 12 has kicked the can down the road on this issue, which, we already saw USC and UCLA leave last year or make their intentions to leave last year to the Big Ten. And then, of course, last week, Colorado deciding to leave to go back to the Big 12. Now, Pac 12 Commissioner George Kliakoff unveiled the outline for a new television deal today, as it looks like Apple TV is going to be a big part of this Pac 12 deal. You think about it, the streaming levels, uh, a lot of people are going to streaming as far as their programming rather, but it's going to be it's the thing with streaming levels and incentives based on subscriptions. I'm not sure about this just due to the fact that we saw the Pac 12 take a chance last time around with former commissioner Larry Scott, and it really put this league in a bad scenario. The Pac 12 network was a disaster from the word go. Larry Scott tried to make it more exclusive than it needed to be. And because of that, a lot of the cable and satellite providers did not pick it up. This is not, in my opinion, what this league needs. Now, the thing is, from what I'm hearing, if things like certain things are hit, part of this deal, the money will be there, but it's an if, it's not a guarantee. The problem is the Big 12, Big 10, SEC, and ACC, they're out there giving their members guarantees. And the thing is, are schools going to be willing to roll the dice on ifs as opposed to guarantees? I'm not too sure about that. So that right there could spell the beginning of the end, or the final nail rather, for the Pac-12. For me, it's telling that Fox and ESPN are not big backers for the new deal. Of course, we heard about that, because it's like the negotiations have been going back and forth for quite some time now. But there's a lot to unravel here. Is this going to be enough to keep this league intact and fend off the Big 12 and Big 10? Because I guarantee you this, if you got teams that are ready to jump ship from the Pac 12, it would not surprise me to see Oregon and Washington go to the Big 10. It would not surprise me. Well, we all know basically the Big 12 was out there. They were courting Colorado. They've also been courting Utah, Arizona, and Arizona State. But it's a scenario for me where, and I'm not the only one that feels like this. The Pac-12 was late to the realignment party. It's one of those where they needed to get off of their high horse a long time ago and address this scenario. They had a golden opportunity more than a decade ago when it looked like the Big 12 was going to fold, where after getting Colorado, the opportunity was there for them to get Oklahoma and Texas, and they, shunned it. And the Pac-12 wanted to focus on the West Coast. They're trying to be too much academia, this, that, and the third. But I'm like, at this point, for you to survive as a league, you're going to have to go out there and pool your resources around football. It's so difficult for the Pac-12 now, being that they lost the Los Angeles market when USC and UCLA decided to go to the Big Ten. They've nickled and dimed and wavered around trying to get this deal done. And there's rumors about San Diego State leaving the Mountain West to join the Pac 12, but it's basically left San Diego State in limbo. The Pac 12, in order to survive, obviously they're going to need San Diego State, but they're going to need the remaining nine schools as of now to be on board. They're going to need an SMU. They're going to need that Dallas market, maybe a UNLV and a Boise State and a Fresno State as well. I don't know. But the bottom line is it needs to be all hands on deck if you're the Pac-12 to try to get this thing in order to stay afloat. Again, I look at it like this: they were just too late to the party. because you look at the SEC. Nobody's thinking about jumping ship from the SEC. They've got their big deal with ESPN, so that's and ABC. They're good to go. Obviously, nobody's thinking about jumping ship from the Big Ten because you look at it. The Big Ten has deals with Fox. They've got deals with CBS. They also have deals with NBC. Nobody's thinking about leaving the Big 12. And for what it's worth, the Big 12 is really not a conference, that's loaded with, powerhouses, traditional powerhouses anymore. Nebraska's not there, Texas is not there, Oklahoma's gone. But nonetheless, they still have a deal that's going to pay out $31 million a year to each school. You look at the ACC, and I know that some of the schools in the ACC aren't happy with the grants of rights in comparison to the Big Ten and SEC, but still, nonetheless, these ACC schools are going to get about $30 million a year. If the Pac 12 is unable to keep up with that, they're done. And the bottom line is everybody has to be on board with it. And it's very iffy. Honestly, I think this is 50-50 as far as this thing being able to stay together. It's one of those scenarios where people have needed to get off of their high horse for a long time. And to me, I think it's a scenario where the ship has already hit the iceberg, and it's like at about 2 o'clock in the morning when you say, hey, you know what, let's get to the lifeboats, and the ship's about to sink at 2:20. This is the scenario where we have seen, or where we're currently looking at, the Pac 12 here, and I'm not sure if it's going to be enough for them to survive. Will they be able to survive? I'm not sure. Again, it's a 50-50 scenario. I'll go back to what I said, when USC and UCLA made their intentions to leave for the Big Ten last year. I'll go back to what I said, as far as like the rumors about some schools looking to get out of the ACC grants of rights. This is the problem when you really don't have a governing body. And I'm talking about the NCAA, because at the pro level, whether it's NFL, NBA, MLB, you name it, NHL, you have a commissioner going out there and a league working together to get a television deal to get the revenue spread out equally. You have so many different mouths to feed at the collegiate level, and there's different revenue tiers based on the conference, and that is causing the issue. A school like USC, a national power, sitting back and seeing a Vanderbilt and the SEC make more money than them. A school like USC is sitting back and looking at a Rutgers in the Big Ten make more money than them. Florida State is sitting back and looking at a Mississippi make more money than them in the SEC, and it goes on and on and on. This is the problem. You don't have a level playing field. And with that said, I think the Pac 10 or Pac 12, Pac 9, whatever they are at this point, there's a big possibility that this conference gets lost in the wash. George Kliavkoff is going to have to pull something out of the wazoo in order to keep this afloat. I'll tell you like this: if George Kliavkoff can keep these 9 schools happy, he's a better man than a lot of people are going to give him credit for. The Pac 12 was late to this party. This smells of desperation, and typically, when you're desperate for something, you tend to try to go out there and get something that is really not at your best interest. It's kind of like, you know what, you waited to the last minute to get a prom date, if you will, and then you're going to go out there and take somebody to the prom that you really didn't want to take to the prom just for the sake of going to the prom. But will this be enough to keep the Pac 12 together? We're going to find out sooner rather than later. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.